I'm Don Brown. I was on the search committee that God used to bring Howard Edignton to Orlando. I traveled first to Pine Bluff and came back, and I told the search committee that he looked a little like Robert Redford, but he preached like John the Baptist. And I think in many ways that fully describes the experience we had in Orlando. One of my earliest memories about the process was when the general presbyter of the Central Florida Presbytery came to us and charged the search committee. And what he told us was pretty difficult. What he told us was that this church, First Presbyterian of Orlando, should really prepare ourselves for the demise of the church, that it was a center city church, and city center churches were simply not surviving. I think that even though that was very depressing, what we ended up doing is taking that as our marching orders. From that point forth, the search committee was determined that we were going to find somebody who was an exception to the expectation. And we indeed found that person in the form of Howard Edignton. Howard's preaching is about as dynamic as preaching can be, but it's also as solidly based on Scripture. It preaches the Word of Jesus. It concentrates on Scripture, and the illustrations and the whole focus of the sermon is just a wonderful thing to experience. Even the titles of his sermons are worthy of study. Howard Edignton entered my faith in a very, very strong way. First, by his preaching. The very first sermon I heard by Howard was what I would call overwhelming. I won't try to repeat it because I'd mess up all of his great work, but it was a very, very important sermon in my life. It dealt with the progression of the saints through the centuries, and Howard had us winding through the lighthouse and finally getting to the light, which was Christ himself. And that's sort of what he did to my faith. He opened little doors and little pathways and radically changed my life. He invited me, nominated me for serving on the Outreach Foundation of the Presbyterian Church. And in doing so, I made my first mission trip abroad to Ghana. And again, because of Howard's nomination, that changed my life in dramatic ways. I found myself thirsting for going out into the field and working to spread the gospel wherever I could. And it culminated, I guess, with work that the church and I have done in Madagascar. And I'm forever grateful for the influence that Howard exerted on our lives. I'm thankful, too, for the friendship that we developed and for the wonderful experiences we've had as we traveled in Europe and had some things we could share with you, but some things that happened that were hilarious, but not worthy of sharing on a video. But we're just very, very thankful for Howard and Tricia and for all that they mean to us and to many, many other people.